Good morning, good day, good evening. This is YieldMaxMindset coming to you with week 3 for YieldMax funds, RoundHill, and Kurv ETF distribution announcement. Let's get to it. All right, so here are other funds or other websites that you may visit to find various ETFs that may fit your investment strategy. For instance, Rec Shares, Defiance ETF, Neo Funds, Curve Investment, RoundHill Investment, Granite Shares, Pro Shares, YieldMax ETFs, and Bitwise. All right, these prices are going to vary each month and each week. If you should happen to own some of the above ETF, here is a roundabout payout you should receive. Below is what you should get paid out for owning the number of shares multiplied by the price per share. All right, first up is CHPY. Closed yesterday at $54.86. Previously closed at $57.77. Previously paid out 45 cents. Currently paying out 42 cents. So had you invested 2,888,050 into this fund, it would have gotten you 50 shares. 50 shares would have gotten you $20.88. Next we have Feet. Closed yesterday at $27.89. Previously closed at $30.24. Previously paid out 45 cents, currently paying out 39 cents. So had you invested $3,024 into this fund, that would have gotten you 100 shares. 100 shares would have gotten you a payment of $38.78. Next, we have 5E. Closed yesterday at $32.74. Previously closed at $35.46. Previously paid out 31 cents, currently paying out 27 cents. So had you invested $17,730 into this position, that would have gotten you 500 shares. 500 shares would have gotten you a payment of $135.05. Next, we have GPTY of YieldMax. Closed yesterday at $43.92. Previously closed at $47.06. Previously paid out 32 cents. Currently paying out 30 cents. So had you invested $47,060 into this fund, that would have gotten you 1,000 shares. And 1,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of 350 cents. Next, we have LFGY. Closed yesterday at $28.20. Previously closed at $32.41. Previously paid out 51 cents. Currently paying out 38 cents. So, had you invested $64,820 into this fund, that would have gotten you 2,000 shares. 2,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $759.20. Next, we have QDTY. Closed yesterday at $39.90. Previously closed at $45.74. Previously paid out 37 cents. Currently paying out 34 cents. So, had you invested $91,480 into this position, that would have gotten you 2,000 shares, and 2,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $684. Next, we have RDTY. Closed yesterday at $40.11. Previously closed at $42.61. Previously paid out 46 cents. Currently paying out 44 cents. So, had you invested $213,050 into this fund, that would have gotten you 5,000 shares. And 5,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $2,203. Next, we have SDTY. Closed yesterday at $44.56. Previously closed at $45.88. Previously paid out 29 cents. Currently paying out 25 cents. All right. So had you invested $453,800 into this position, that would have gotten you 10,000 shares. And 10,000 shares would have gotten you a payment this week of $2,539. Next, we have YieldMax SLTY. Closed yesterday at $39.29. Previously closed at $37.44. Previously paid out 53 cents. Currently paying out 77 cents. All right. So had you invested $1,872 into this position, it would have gotten you 50 shares. And 50 shares would have gotten you a payment of $38.27. All right. Next, we have Ulti. Closed yesterday at $4.12. Previously closed at $4.61. Previously paid out 0.0626. Currently paying out 0.0642. All right. So had you invested $461 into this fund, it would have gotten you 100 shares. 100 shares would have gotten you a payment of $6.42 on this week. Next, we have YMAG. Closed yesterday at 14.56. Previously closed at 15.16. Previously paid out 17 cents. Currently paying out 0.0941. All right. So had you invested $1,516 into this fund, that would have gotten you 100 shares. 100 shares would have gotten you a payment of $9.41. Next, we have YMAG of YieldMax. Closed yesterday at $10.70. Previously closed at $11.52. Previously paid out 15 cents. Currently paying out 13 cents. So had you invested $5,760 into this fund, that would have gotten you $500, and $500 would have gotten you a payment of $65.05. Next, we have RoundHill ETF, YBTC. Closed yesterday at $32.62. Previously closed at $37.47. Previously paid out 30 cents. Currently paying out 28 cents. So had you invested $18,735 into this position, that would have gotten you 500 shares, and 500 shares would have gotten you a payment of $140.65 on this week. Next, we have Yeeth of RoundHill. Closed yesterday at $17.98. Previously closed at $21.27. Previously closed at $30. Excuse me. Previously paid out 31 cents. All right. Currently paying out 24 cents. All right. So had you invested $42,540 into this position, that would have gotten you 2,000 shares, and 2,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $476.17 this week. Next, we have WPay of RoundHill. Closed yesterday at $47.30. Previously closed at $51.68. Previously paid out 57 cents. Currently paying out 40 cents. All right, so had you invested $103,360 into this position, that would have gotten you 2,000 shares, and 2,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $796.85. Next, we have RoundHill weekly ETF. Closed yesterday at $100.07. Previously closed at $100.07. Now, if you invested in this fund, you definitely have no NAV erosion, period. All right. So it previously paid out 0.07977, currently paying out 0.06142. All right. So had you invested $50,035 into this fund, that would have gotten you 500 shares. 500 shares would have gotten you a payment of $30.71 this week. Next, we have Maggie of RoundHill. It paid out on Monday. All right, so it closed yesterday at $54.30. Previously closed at $56.60, and it previously paid out 39 cents and currently paying out 39 cents. All right, so had you invested $56,100 into this position, that would have gotten you 1,000 shares, and 1,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $386.33. Next, we have Kurv. Kurv weekly position is KYLD. Closed yesterday at $22.94. Previously closed yesterday at $22.41. Previously closed at $22.94. All right, previously paid out 17 cents, currently paying out 17 cents. All right, so had you invested $22,940 into this position, that would have gotten you 1,000 shares, and 1,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $165. Next, we have Kurv KSLV monthly ETF. Closed yesterday at $25.97. Previously closed at $26.31. Previously paid 50 cents. Currently paying 50 cents. All right, so had you invested $52,620 into this position, that would have gotten you 2,000 shares, and 2,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $1,000. All right, next we have Curve KS. Is this the same one? No, that shouldn't be the same one. Hold on one sec. Tell you what that actually should be. Hold on one second. All right, correction made. All right, Curve GOOP. All right, closed yesterday at 25.97. Previously closed at 26.31. All right, so had you invested $52,620 into this position, that would have gotten you 2,000 shares, and 2,000 shares would have gotten you a payment of $800. Next, we have AAPY of Curve monthly ETF. Closed yesterday at $24.79. Previously closed at $24.39. Previously paid out 25 cents. Currently paying out 25 cents. All right, so had you invested $121,950 into this position, that would have gotten you 5,000 shares, and 5,000 shares would have gotten you $1,250. All right, so this is YieldMax Mindset saying thank you for dropping by. Viewing the content, please like and share and leave a comment. All right, I'm out. Bye.